A little chat about torque wrench accuracy. Well, I'm not putting helicopter rotors on or anything like that. In fact, tractor wheel nuts are probably the most dangerous or potentially dangerous things that I put on. Recently I was doing a job with some very expensive bolts, so I nipped out and I bought this little torque wrench. I bought it because it was calibrated and came with a calibration certificate. So when I got home I noticed the calibration certificate was out of date. And because it was a job that was important to me, I went and got the thing calibrated. Took the fella a few moments, cost me 45 quid, and I did the job successfully. Then afterwards I noticed that the adjuster is loose. The guy hadn't adjusted it, he said it was just spot on. So I really don't know. So I looked into it and I found out that the international standards for torque wrench calibration are that it should be turned up to its full value and back down again 5 times, then tested 5 times at 20% of its value, 5 times at 60% and 5 times at 100%, which is pretty onerous, and the guy who tested mine certainly didn't have time to do that. So I looked into making a calibrator for myself, just so that I would be happy that that the jobs that I'm doing are right, because I'm more bothered about the accuracy than that I am about the get out of jail card of having a calibration certificate. And it turns out that the international standards for these allow plus or minus 4%, which is huge. If you took a metre rule, that would allow you 40 millimetres. Plus or minus 40 millimetres, that's 80 millimetres, which is huge. Or if it was a 25 kilogram weight, it would be plus or minus 1 kilogram. Again, it is huge. So I have made myself this torque wrench calibrator, called torque wrench tester, call it what you will, and it is incredibly accurate and I'm really pleased with it. Now the inaccuracy of torque wrenches is normally blamed on the spring, and I think that's a load of nonsense, because I find springs, quality springs anyway, to hold their accuracy for years. If you take this 120-year-old family scale, which has been in daily use forever, it was my great-grandmother's, with a £2 calibration weight in it, you can see it's still bang on at £2. I think the inaccuracy of torque wrenches is down to the internal frictions, because I find that when I strip them down and clean them and re-lubricate them, they are suddenly a whole lot more accurate. The oil in them oxidises and gets sticky, and they get rusty inside and they get dirty inside. Another example of springs is the springs inside diesel injectors. Just these common everyday diesel injectors. I regularly take them out, 50 years old, and still popping off at the same pressure, which means that that spring, which will have compressed millions of times, is still good. The other thing I found about torque wrenches is that they trigger at different values depending on whether they have been screwed up the scale or screwed down the scale. So I find it to be a good working practice always to screw them up the scale from 0 or from 0. So back to the torque wrench calibration. We could buy one of those big dial type gauges that you stick the torque wrench in, you mount it on the wall or the bench and gives you a readout. But we're relying on something with a spring to test something with a spring. Also, they're expensive. I do believe nowadays you can get digital ones that you stick in the vise, but I really don't trust them. Everybody keeps telling me that I should use digital stuff. I mean, fantastic. This scale cost a fiver. It came all the way from China with a calibration weight of dubious quality, and claims to be accurate to 2 decimal places of a single gram. Well, I've used it and it did the job, but you know, I really wouldn't trust it for anything important, and people tend to believe that readout that you get on a digital scale because it's there in black and white. But actually, it's only a digital way of reading a mechanical device. I much prefer something that is true and honest and proper. Like this old scale here, Grandpa's old butcher's scale. I could put that in a cupboard for 500 years and somebody could get it out and it would still work perfectly. And that's the way I like my equipment to be. Or you can do it this way. You can, at a measured point, dangle a weight from your torque wrench, which is held in the vise, and see if it clicks. Well, the thing is, I don't think that I'm going to be wanting to do that every day. And I don't think anybody else will either, so it's okay for the experiment, but not for everyday use. So, I have made myself this torque wrench calibrator, torque wrench tester, call it what you will, and it is incredibly accurate and I'm really pleased with it.